Louise, I want you to just write down everything you think about your daughter-in-law, and we'll get started there. Okay. Jerry, very surprised that all the people I had resented had a similar pattern. I lost my freedom of choice regarding what money I can and do with it, and lost money in pros, I'm not sure. She discovered I'm living my mother's programs about money and men having the say, even when they're wanting to make dumb decisions. The girlfriend, I hear you on that one. That is one that I could grow up around, and was a big one I personally had to overcome because, in this family of really strong, intelligent women, and I, kind of grew up in a community with women. Now, when I talk about my dad, I have to let you know I'm kind of talking more about the benevolent office of my dad because growing up, there was my birth father up until I was 5. My mother got divorced. She married a man when I was 6, and up until I was 13. And then met and married a man when I was 15, and then he died when I was in my early 20s. And so there's these influences, but of course she really kind of attracted the same kind of man. But all the women that I observed in my world were kind of like smart. They knew what should happen and shouldn't happen, but they weren't really allowed to express because the men made the money, and they were under that old paradigm, and so they had to let them make the decision because, well, he's my father, it's our husband, and we feel bad that we're angry at our dad because well, and you probably had this said to you if you haven't said it before. It's like being a kid going, I'm angry, I hate him, I can't stand when he does that. It says, well, no matter what, he's your dad. You have to love him. No matter what, that's your, you have to love her. And you never really get to deal with that emotion, and that gets frozen. And you're right about recognizing that you might have actually taken on your mother's patterns of resentment, because when we're children and we are bonding to our parents, in those first few months, their neurology literally gets impressed on top of ours. It's almost like a stamp. Now we have the phones. You've seen the new Galaxy that you put it together and there's that file transfer. Well, that's really a rude, limited way of what actually happens to us when we're getting information from our parents when we're really very small. It's a direct imprint because remember, when we're babies, we're mostly in the theta brainwave, and we are learning the difference between ourselves and other people, and we're just taking in all of that programming. Jaziana, realizing how much fear has been running your life. So this was a nice, juicy one, right? So let's go ahead. Let me come back over to the presentation. And, oh, wait, while we're in chat, I want to come back over just a minute to the chat. And exactly, yeah, so we're getting some feedback. I want to get some feedback from you guys right quick before we start this next piece. How is this working for you as far as this format? Like we're breaking out, having exercise, we're doing some meditation, we're bringing in some video and music. If I could get some comments and let me know what works for you on this format and what doesn't, then I can make some adjustments and we can have an even better experience, because I want you to have everything you need in order to make the transformation. And that's why even in creating the course, I made sure that we have an hour together after the course. We have so that I can answer your questions one-on-one. Maybe you're stuck on something, just so that we have some time to be in relationship. And at the time I did that, I was thinking, oh, well, that's nice. But, I realized I've got over 50 people that we need to be scheduling some appointments for. So we're going to be making sure you get on the schedule and we do it in an orderly way. But I want to make sure that you and I have some time to work together on this money stuff. And then I wanted to make sure that there's a way you stay in relationship with the teaching, and that's why I went ahead and offered free entry to the monthly virtual One Command Circle. And I want us to be able to talk and hear each other, and I know I'm going to master this system. And we are going to make this work in a way that works for all of us. But just kind of let me know how this is working. So far everyone's saying it's working well. Vicki initially had some cookie problems, but she got that fixed. I actually did some work. I cleaned up my JavaScript, so that worked for me. Josiana's saying it's closer to be in person. She can participate because she's at home and can't wait for the circle. So, and Rich, love you too. Hey, Rich, big hugs to you. Thank you for your sweet note last night. Just really like when I saw it, my heart just leapt up in my chest. So just big hugs, and I just am so in love with every one of you guys. Maybe because we're in theta together, but I am getting that little bit of theta drunk. and just kind of coming into that expansive love state with you. All right, so let's get back to the class, and we'll come back to the presentation. Now, it's pretty easy to think about who you resent and the way that you're stopping this, and I want to pause, too, that in the very first Commanding Wealth class that I took, there was a young woman there that when she was doing this exercise, actually collapsed and started crying. I mean, we were in the hallway, and there's this little teeny offices where we were holding the class, and people were like having to step over her body to get by because we couldn't really get her moved. But she just was collapsed, and she told this story about how she had gone through a devastating divorce. She had married a man from Saudi Arabia, left the country, moved there, lived there for 20 years with them, had her children there. Then when it was time for a divorce, basically he told her he was done with her. He had all the power. He just decided he was done. It was time to send her back home. And she had to leave her children there. Her children didn't want to leave, and basically had sent her with some money, and I think her settlement was only something like maybe $150,000 or so to turn around and rebuild her life after 20 years. And just being completely powerless, so she comes back home, and she had a healing practice, and she got training as a massage therapist, and she was working on building her business. And then she eventually met a man that was very charming, and turned out he was one of those Don Juan con men, and wound up bilking her out of what was essentially her last $50,000 after all the expenses of buying a house, starting a business, living on that money for a couple of years. And this was supposed to be her starting over money, and bilked her out of that $50,000. And as a result, one, she was devastated. She was so ashamed that she was so stupid to have fallen for this. And then she had to figure out a way to earn more money as a massage therapist. And people who are in massage therapy know this, that one of their biggest obstacles and the biggest temptations in their business is moving into the kind of shady sexual side, because that's faster money. And they are always having to fight for their reputation, so that they are setting those clear boundaries of, no, this is what I will do with your body, this is not what I will do. But it got to where she just didn't know any other way. She started kind of grabbing that fast money, and she moved into that sensual, sexual massage area. And then that caused her to have more and more shame, because she was actually this beautiful, shiny light being. She looked like an angel. You would never guess that she was doing this type of business, because her vibration, she just was luminescent, but yet she had this shame, and it was clear that she was a healer, and she was here to bring love and reconciliation and peace to the world. And here she's doing this other job. And she said, Catherine, I'm trying to get out of it. I can't. I'm so ashamed. And I get to a certain amount of money. I haven't been able to get over $20,000 saved, but almost as soon as I get to that point, then something happens that all takes it away. And so we did some commands, and I'm going to do these commands with you of restoration. And what she was really able to come to was there was the resentment and all of this energy, and she was trying to get him to make it right. And then actually this even related back to how her husband had treated her as a sexual object. And then this actually, as she started really exploring this emotion and going further back, that the inappropriateness of her father's actions with her, and her mother being jealous of her, and her mother, instead of protecting her, treated her as a rival and banished her from the house and sent her to live in a boarding school. the stories paralleled, but because she's in the pain of it, she really couldn't see the parallel. A year later, after taking the course, we reconnected, and she said, Catherine, you'll never believe how my life has changed. One, I'm completely out of that business. I went ahead and got my hypnotherapy certification. I started offering some other classes. She said, now I'm working more of my healing angel stuff, and because I really couldn't do the massage anyway, I wound up learning a different type of body work, but now I can work more with the pure energy, so I don't even really have to ever have someone on a massage table. So there's already these adjustments, but she said, Catherine, here's the biggest thing. In the last year, I've generated over $100,000 income, and I really couldn't tell you what I did that was different. But she said, another big thing that happened was that the guy who bilged me out of my money died. And it was the first time I could really get and understand that he's not going to be able to make it right. And so I have to go to another source in order to get what is rightfully mine. Now I want to kind of underline that statement there. You know, I had to go to source to get what was rightfully mine. I want you to think about that. I want to drop that in because we carry these resentments and this anger, but in truth, there's not really anything they could do, even if these people from our past were to appear and say, I am so sorry, here's the money, let me try and right this wrong. We'd say, you know, it's kind of late, I appreciate it, but I've moved on. There's no way to do that. If Scott were to show up today, I would probably take the $2,000 that he owes me. But really, what I really want between me and Scott is peace. And what I really want is to make sure that I have good, clear boundaries, and I get to take the learning from this experience, and I get to stay in alignment with the intention of wanting to be of service and help, even though my ego got in the way and I kind of got all control-y. The same thing with my client, with that student, that she could come back to that positive intention of really wanting to help, wanting to give from her goodness and be open to every part of her life and share herself with someone else. That's what she wanted, and we want to honor that. And when you work with the One Command and you start coming into these teachings, this is the space that you come to. Well, now, when you start facing this stuff and you can start clearing it, then it's easier to flip the coin and go, you know, who have I done wrong? Who have I stopped? And this is the next exercise. And so before we do that, though, we're going to go ahead and do a little exercise on how to clear those resentments and judgments. Now, I want to come over to the whiteboard for a second here. And I'm so excited about this feature. Sandy and I played with it last night. And Sandy, I think I'm going to have to empower you to be on the whiteboard with me.
Okay, just 1 second.
Just a minute. I'm going to give her some privileges of the whiteboard and the presentation and everything. Are you there? Mm-hmm. I'm going to give you a voice. Just a minute. And she's going to accept it. What I like about this, too, we can view the map about where people are. Did you get the message yet?
Yes,
Taking its sweet time. Yeah, we're on the same bandwidth, so it makes it a little harder. Hey, there's sweet Sandy. If y'all hadn't got to see her, that's Sandy. And that mess behind her is, hey, Sandy, turn the monitor a little bit. They can see how we had everything all set up so that we can actually videotape some stuff. We got lights. This is my little home office. There we go. And we got all of this equipment ready to go. Okay. All right, Sandy, come on back.
Okay.
So, Sandy, you're going to be my typist here.
Okay.
Okay.
And yesterday, let me see, I'm going to try and do this. I showed you guys this little technique about clearing negative beliefs so that we can format the right command. Okay? Now, coming back to the presentation here, let me come back up here. we have all of these questions about what we wished would have happened, what stopped us, that type of thing, okay? So when we want to format the right command, I like to start with what do we wish would have happened instead, okay? So one, we want to think about this situation, and if someone could type into, Rich is saying, hi, Sandy. So could someone type into the chat bar and let me know who's somebody that you had resentment against? And I'm going to just pull somebody kind of randomly. All right. Hey, there's Ruby Lee, Busy Bee. Thank you for typing. And we got Joy. Okay. Hey, Ruby Lee's got resentment against a mechanic. All right. So, Ruby, so Sandy, I want you to just type in up here on a little text box kind of up in the upper corner someplace, mechanic. Okay?
Okay.
And you'll hit text, and then there we go. There we go. That's sneaky mechanic. Okay. Oh, and Jerry is Christo's cousin, and one said her mom. Okay. So on what that mechanic, we've got our negative, and then what we wish should happen instead. So on the box over here, Ruby, what did that mechanic, what did this cause you? What did this cost you? Okay. Let me come back to the question. I'm sorry. What do you wish would have happened instead? Let me just start there, and Sandy, that'll probably be a positive. So what do you wish you had happened instead, Miss Ruby Lee? Okay, the SUV does not work. So, Sandy, we could actually put that in the negative. The SUV doesn't work. Just SUV, yeah.
Well,
the letter S. Okay, the cost.
$3,000.
Okay. And then we have, I think we're still trying to figure this out. Great. And then we have the car still doesn't work. And then took advantage of you. So that's the emotion that you feel taken advantage of. And you wish you hadn't purchased it, and you wish you hadn't done a shade tree mechanic, right? So one, you wish you had bought it someplace maybe that had a better reputation and get a warranty, that type of thing, okay? Or maybe you had just taken some time on your car. So, all right, so hadn't bought it at auction. Yeah. Okay. So, one, it sounds like you were trying to save money. We've got some positive intentions here. And she feels taken advantage of. The car doesn't work. Okay, and there was a cost of $3,000. So there's what you wish hadn't have happened, but what do you wish had happened instead? So instead of it, here's this cost of the money, the car doesn't work. When you think of the situation, what do you wish had happened instead? Fortunately, Ruby's a pretty fast typer. Yeah, and you guys are getting in on this. So on your sheet of paper, you might draw a little line as I'm asking these questions. She wishes she hadn't purchased it and wishes she had not hired the guy. Well, I get that too, but at the time you needed a car. So when you think about the solution you would have liked to have had for having a new car, what do you wish you had done instead? And you could say, I wish I had waited, or I wish I'd gone to a dealership, whatever that is. Okay, so there's an interesting word that's wish. We have a hopes, wishes, and desires. But sometimes when we make a wish, we don't, I'm actually saying the Jiminy Cricket thing. So, oh, wish I hadn't. It's really interesting, Ruby, that a lot of your wishes are tied to avoidance. Instead of, I wish I hadn't done this, I wish I hadn't done that, I wish I hadn't, I wish I hadn't. Right? And so your unconscious mind, when it hears wish, it's saying, when she makes a wish, we're going to look for all the ways we need to stop Ruby. Does that make sense? So how could we take that power of wishing to turn it into a power for good? So I wish I had, I just want to add in here because this just thought had come in. Yeah, she's right. Oh my God. Does that make sense? I know, I just got it. I'm looking at this. So on the positive, we're going to have, I don't know how, my wishes have positive outcomes. Yeah, because this is I was tuning into that wish energy. It was like pulling back. Oh. Okay, and she's saying love it. Okay. I don't know how my wishes have positive outcomes because you're wishing, hoping, and needing a car. Hey, how many people would like to have their wishes have a positive outcome just by a show of hands? Yeah. Me too. You know, and we get that in our language. Go, man, I wish I hadn't said that. I wish I hadn't done that. You know, I woke up this morning going, I spent all that money on the microphone, and it's really not working. Gosh, I wish I hadn't spent the money on that microphone. And I talked to Sandy, and I said, we're going to be talking about actually blessing our good and all the money we spent. And this morning I woke up with a little inventory about some unexpected expenses. And gosh, I wish I had done this or that. And I thought, the decision I made at the time was the best decision, and I'm going to make a decision right now to bless every dollar I spent. And I don't know how many ways that every dollar I spent is multiplied back to me by the power of 3, which you're going to learn. I only know it so now. And suddenly there was no tension. So remember this amount of money, Ruby, that you spent on the car. I want you to remember the amount of money on the mechanic. And then I want you to factor in the other financial losses that were attached to this experience with this SUV, okay, but particularly this mechanic. And then the feeling that I'm hearing, too, is the mechanic violated your trust. Is that correct? Oh, and Louise is saying it's lovely to see us 2 girls on screen. Okay, thank you. All right. And Joy is saying, yeah, I think I've even stopped myself from wishing. And, you know, that wishing comes from our little child self of wanting to express. And even inside of it, I'm getting goosebumps. That little child self is saying, I wish you would listen to me. I wish I could express and tell you everything that I'm hoping for. And I want to tell you all of these secrets. And then as our adult self, we can start taking some of those elements and working on creating those. All right. So Sandy's muted, so she doesn't have feedback. So, all right. So I don't know how my wishes have positive outcomes. So all of our commands are going to be based on everything that's here on this side right here. Let me bring this pin down. Isn't this fun? Right. Okay. Okay, there's a little wild mouse there. Okay. But everything that's on this positive side over here. Okay? So everything right here. Thank you, Sandy. Oh, now it's all gone. Now I don't know how we uncover it. All right, but I know our command. All right. So, Ruby, I know you're making good notes. So we're going to do commands there. But, you know, with that relationship with the mechanic, it's like there's a sense that you wish there was somebody watching out for you and supporting you and giving you some good advice and information. Okay? So she's writing out all the costs. So I want you to total that cost up. But so she wishes she had, can I just go ahead and pretend like I'm reading your mind and saying that you wish you had somebody that was on your side being an advocate and a friend to support you in your decisions. How does that sound? Would you like that? And I may have to, okay, we're going to be doing the exercise in a second. All right, so Rich is typing now. Yes, Andy, thanks for fixing that for me. How'd you do that? Oh, you undid. Okay, cool. All right. All right. So on this side over here, I'm mind reading Ruby on the positive, that she had somebody who was on her side giving her good advice and supporting her decisions. So if you could type that in the text box for her. That's my mind reading abilities. There's the great Catherine is making her big predictions there. Okay. All right. So is this helpful to you guys to see how we're coming up? Because we go, here's the negative stuff, and then what we've done is we just flipped it. Okay. But then, you know, because I'm talking to her, I'm actually kind of tuning back to, where's my little arrow thing? Here. Okay. I'm tuning back to this mechanic right here. Okay, let me get a pen. I'm tuning back to the mechanic. And then so to me that created a tension that there's this person that took advantage of her. So she would want somebody the opposite would be someone who's helping her and supporting her. Does that make sense? So this is what you have to have instead of going, that SOB, he took my money, now I got to make sure I watch out for people who don't take my money from me. Well, guess what happens with your unconscious mind? It says, wait, are we looking for everyone who might take your money away from you? Then let's find all of them first. Then tell me what you're looking for next so that we can be safe and avoid them. And the next thing you know, it's one loser, one bad mechanic, one thief after another, and your unconscious mind in the reticular activating system, do you like this? This is me being in your brain. Like, where are they? Oh, there you are. I've got you out. There's music. And then inside of you, there's a physical response going, you know, it just feels right to be here. So you don't know why you keep getting attracted to the wrong people over and over again, but your unconscious mind has done it perfectly. So what you're actually after is help make decisions with one S, but you're able to find that person that is supportive of you. Then it goes, oh, is that what we're after? Well, we don't know what that looks like. If we knew what a supportive person was, what are the rules? How would we know? And so we want to create that feeling. Yeah, Sandy's getting excited now. So now what we want to do is create inside of us that feeling of being supported in our decisions. Okay? So Sandy's all
She's
excited.
wishing she had someone to help her, which is basically saying to me that she cannot trust herself enough to make these kind of decisions. She needs someone else.
All right. Well, you know what? We all need help and support, don't we? We all need that wise friend. But there is, sometimes we have to do it on our own, and we have to know that we can trust ourselves. Thank you, Sandy, and thank you, Ruby. So we have to be able to walk around in confidence that we can do that, okay? So let's go ahead and go into this, and then we'll do the other exercise at the end. So on your sheet of paper, coming back to what you did, and choose the one who had the most energy for you. And let's do what we did with Ruby, where we drew a line down a sheet of paper, and then we put a negative and a positive. Sorry, it's a little messy now. And then all the stuff that happened. Whoops. Okay. Sandy's drawn a new one. And so we have the negative and the positive. And it doesn't matter. To me, I just kind of orient this way. And then we have the positive. This is the simplest way to uncover those programs. Okay? So she had the situation with the mechanic, the shade tree. She has all of those elements and what she really wanted instead. Okay? So what we're going to do is I'm just going to give you about 10 minutes to come up with some your statements on the positive side, and then we're going to come back. I'm going to pause the recording, and I actually need to step away for a moment, and I will be